Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. Okay, so our opponent here is Ztrum. Again, I'm second player for some reason. It's been a while since we've seen Floating Courtyard. I generally don't like this map, but for an AoE box, it's actually not too bad. So, my opponent is mostly a mixed box. He has 1, 2, 3. He has 4 healers, 1 tank? I guess 1 primary tank, and then Bernhardt, Bernhardt has a, well, Bernhardt and Altamiller can be physical tanks, I guess. So kind of interesting. I could have gone to a situation where I banned their primary tank, but honestly, I obviously got rid of Rosenseal because AoE box and all that. Their Lycoris is actually Demon. That's actually their Bozel's Demon as well. All right, this is a strange box to say the least. Listel, which her being demon's not an issue. So yeah, a lot of faces we don't see too often nowadays. Yeah, SP Altamuller, Listel, heck, even Ledin's not usually seen too often anymore. But yeah, it's essentially a mixed box. There's assassins, long legs, some AoE, and then the smattering of tanks and healers. Which, as I kind of said over and over again, once you're in a mixed box, tends to have the least advantages in these types of ban picks because the opponent can decide what type of box what sort of 5-man you're going to play. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of Rosenseal. They went and got rid of my 1 tank, which I was completely fine with. They take Ledin. So at this point they have, what was it? Light of Glory, whatever that faction's called. They have that faction buff if they want it. I took a lot of time on this next ban because there's a few options. Originally, I was like, wait, do they only have 2 healers? And then I saw the chorus, and I was like, okay, they have 3 healers. So I was like, well, I really want to get rid of some of their long legs as much as possible because obviously I don't have a tank. So the idea was I'll get rid of TRS because TRS can provide additional mobility and as well as single target damage. And just be overall annoying. So I was going to get rid of TRS and then get rid of one of the other threats that are on the board and then try to force my opponent to pick a healer. So went with Sherry in this case because Sherry can be buffed. Grabbed my Rosenseal. They ban long range and long legs. And they take SP Elwyn, which also provides a faction buff right off the bat with his, I think it's 3C or whatever it's called. So Ledin's probably not going to bring a faction buff in that case. But with this, I was given the opportunity to just ban their healers. So I banned their healers. So they have 0 healers. The only passive healing that could be even done to other targets would probably be Yulia. Technically, SP Lana here can, if she had the hammer that does passive healing, she could potentially heal that way. Besides that, the only other healing that's available is, I believe, self-healing only. And I guess technically the faction buff from Zerida could also do it. At this point, you guys have probably seen these my picks often enough. I went Rosenseal straight into Luna. There's not really that much magic I need to worry about, but obviously she provides mobility and she provides me that other faction buff, which is always useful. At this point, they got rid of Iron Chancellor and my spears, probably to defend against Elwyn. I was tempted to grab... wow, names are just escaping me right now. Give me a moment. Just when I cut it off, I remembered. Michelle. So, yeah. So without Michelle, I don't have any spears anymore, which is fine by me at this point. They grab Yulia, which they don't have any way of increasing her mobility, so I'm not that concerned about her. Also, in an AoE box, Yulia is a lot less dangerous. At this point, I went ahead and I was like, alright, I don't want to give... if they are going to pick someone like... that's Omega. If they're going to pick Omega, or Listel or Lana, I wanted to ensure that they didn't have a faction buff. So I got rid of both Dark. I also got rid of Bernhardt because it's Bernhardt. Went ahead and grabbed my Lana. because in this board she can cover majority of the map with a crazy AoE span. They went and got rid of my Tensei Jessica and my Angelina. They grab Omega, Omega. So at this point I was like, I don't really remember all of Omega's factions. I think he was like Dark Meteor and like maybe something else. I guess maybe Yillis? I don't know. But in any case, I didn't really want to deal with Ultimiller's weird AoE teleporting weird thing, so I got rid of that. Got rid of Zerda so she can't faction buff Omega here. And that leaves Listel and Lana. Lana can't be, neither one of them could be buffed with any sort of attack buffs. I have Luna, so I'm hoping I can endure her AoEs. Listel's a little bit more dangerous, but if once I get the crystals up for Rose and CL, she becomes pretty much nullified. I'll go ahead and grab Lycoris at this point. Since there's such little ground to stand on, I figured she would be great for more AoE. They went ahead and banned my Akaya, which I was not going to pick, and Gustav, which I would have considered, but it wasn't really my primary pick. They grabbed Lana. At this point, I'm left with Helena, which against Ledin's probably not that great. And they left me with Varna, which gives more AoE and AoE damage buffs. So good stuff there. If it weren't for how long it took some of the ban picks to take, I almost thought my opponent was some sort of AI. I know there's not really AI opponents in this in Apex, but I actually had to wait 1 entire minute before I actually got into a match in Apex, which is kind of weird, especially in Silver 1. In any case, this Lana is single target, has 3C and both the SP abilities, so Elemental Echo and Phase Shift, which is her teleport. I think, actually, easy way to compare that. Yeah, I think you have to be 6 stars to even get SP class. I don't remember. Anyway, Yulia here. Oh. Yeah, 6 stars. Yulia has unicorns, 3C, Godly Menace, and then the passive heal from Faith. Omega, standard, surprise attack, Lone Shadow, and Cold Blood. I think he's 6 stars, I'm not entirely certain. Has Shinobis, I don't know if that's common. Elwyn, obviously SP Elwyn, so he's probably 6 stars. 3C, Force of Will with Reign of Glory with Unicorn, so he can go 4 steps with his move again. And then Ledin went Phalanxes, 3C, his passive, and then his standard guard. So he has a standard guard, so he doesn't have to rely on Righteous Duel to get his guard up. But yeah, I was half tempted to take Sorceresses on Lycoris, because my opponent is mostly... I mean, the biggest high mobility threat is Elwyn, but Elwyn can't actually attack the center tiles of these sky tiles. So I could have just had Lycoris just sit here and kind of endure until Yulia or Lana or Omega eventually reach her. But I went ahead and decided to go with ground troops, that way I can take advantage of Luna's extra mobility. I went ahead and put Lana in front, that way she can... Essentially I wanted Rose and Seal and Lana to be my front line, because obviously Redeemers, you know, having fully decked out Redeemers with the self-res, and then of course Shrine Maidens to help should I get rushed by Elwyn or something like that. Standard kit for Lana, AoEs, Black Hole, Heaven Sanction with her passive cooldown. Lycoris, standard kit transformation, 3C, Dark Dragon Breath. Luna, same kit as always, 3C, move again with faction buff and Elven Cavalry. Varna, I did not need to take her attack buff because I can be buffed by Rose and Seal, so I brought her 3C and 1000 Arrows and aim. And then Rose and Seal, I went with faction buff and then AoE heals. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. So right off the bat, my opponent moved forward immediately. He actually moved like immediately, which I always consider as a sign of that you're actually against an AI opponent in World Arena. But this is an actual person as far as I know. So As far as threats, L1 can go 1, 2, 3, 4. He can attack all the way up to there. Omega can't really get anywhere. He can get to like here and then attack to there, and that's about it. Lana doesn't have any attack buffs and will have to more than likely have to teleport in. She has no AoE, so the only thing she has is her 3 range elemental destruction. I think it's 3 range. Yeah. And then Yulia is buffed, but she is short-legged, so I kind of have some room to set up. So right now, I'm just passing turns to see what my opponent does. So I've got faction buff up. This is a little bit dangerous because I only have crystal barriers on 2 characters and not the ones that I intend to tank with. So yeah, I stopped 1 space short of Eloin's range, went ahead and 3C'd in faction buff. She phase shift all the way to here. I don't know what the plan here was. She does take 75% reduced damage. And then before initiating battle, she gets 100% life restored. Actually, that's kind of neat. I didn't realize about that. So actually, it can actually be used for single target. I never actually considered that. Usually you would teleport her and then use her AoE and then have her warp back. This marking shows where she warps back to. Right now, my Lana can get all the way to here, and then pretty much hit everybody with her Heaven Sanction. Langrisser can get to here, which is right now just out of range of hitting anything at all. So at this point I had to pass turns somehow. I was half tempted to just keep Varna close by and just buff everybody's AoE damage, but I have 3 targets I can easily hit, and one of them doesn't have any buffs, and Varna's abilities can remove buffs, so I went ahead and just moved in. Did aim. I did 1,000 arrows first, so it removes only 1 buff, and then I fell back, and I'm pretty much safe there for now. So at this point, Ellen moved forward, which actually puts him just in range of my 3C, and I wanted to get the terrain out anyway, so I moved in and did Dark Despair. Transformed, and with that I got Silence. I got Silence and then 20% max damage dot. Really, it's just about the Silence. They have no healers, so they have no way of actually getting rid of these debuffs, and so that means Elvin can't use his 3C, can't use Reign of Glory, which means right now Elvin could only attack Langrisser, which obviously I'm going to be moving Lana next, and she's going to block Elwyn. And since Elwyn can't do 3C, I can easily tank his attack. So leaves Omega. Omega literally can't do anything. But he went ahead and used his 3C anyway, I don't know why. Moved up a step and then did Cold Blood, went to there. And then Black Hole. Ellen moved just in range of the Black Hole, so I was able to hit everybody with Black Hole, do 2 debuffs on everybody. Then of course, Princess faction buff did additional fixed damage. And then of course accessories and stabs and all that will also do additional effects. So debuffed all of Elwyn's damage there. Negated buffs and reduced damage dealt. Can't be healed. Mobility reduction. He's already popped everything at this point except for his Lone Shadow, which I think is just an attack now. Yulia here is so low on health that she can't self-res now. Can't use passive skills, so even the passive healing is gone. Yeah, just completely obliterated at this point. So now takes advantage of the teleport, gets the full heal there, but I also ended up attacking Lana of all people. Lana was at full health, so Redeemer's reduced a lot of that damage. And I also removed, I think I gave her a debuff, but I think it was just the damage debuff, so I think it just did the same debuff from her exclusive armor. In any case, that attack was pretty much wasted. Elwyn could have attacked Lana, but obviously he can't get kill. Even if he moved 5 spaces and got the full heal, he still wouldn't be able to do enough damage. So at this point I went ahead and moved in, did Dark Dragon Breath, wipes out just about everybody. This Legend is actually immune to fixed damage. Went ahead and did Righteous Duel. This isn't going to go very well. Yeah, Redeemers didn't do much damage, but the Fireball alone was enough to do it. And at that point my opponent gave up. So yeah, this battle only didn't even last 2 turns, which is a bit disappointing, but that's kind of how it is. I've always said that, you know, everyone kind of tends to pick very focused builds nowadays with the AoEs and the or the single target or quote unquote assassins or there's a few people that do tank push, but the situation with tank push is one, it tends to have a lot of issues nowadays, but the other thing is it's actually a very slow way of winning. And in a game where you have to get a lot of wins to progress and losses take away from progress, generally the way you make up for that is just to have a very quick way of winning and losing. I mean, it's not even a Langrisser problem. Same thing happens in Hearthstone. There's a reason why face decks are very, very common in games like Hearthstone, because it's just a very fast way to win. And even if you screw up, it's very easy to just pick it up and go to the next opponent and hopefully win fast that way. So yeah, it's a bit... I guess the good news though is that win was all I needed. I am now Gold 3. I got the season reward for what's his face here? I don't remember his name. So I'll get better rewards, which is good. I'm actually been starving on arena enchants, so getting the the epic gift packs will help out quite a bit. Also, just getting extra rare enchants is always nice, because my enchanting luck has been pretty horrible. So yeah, unfortunately, like I said, it was a very short match. It took a little while for me to kind of think through my band picks and things like that, but overall, I kind of liked how things kind of evolved a little bit. Obviously, things got easier with each week because people were gradually filtering up to their appropriate rankings. So eventually I was fighting people that are a lot easier than probably I should be fighting at this point. But I'm in Gold 3 now, so I get to suffer again. But yeah, overall, I did kind of enjoy doing the... It definitely was a learning experience to try an AoE box. Probably the most important thing to learn was how... It forced me to change my ban pick habits. I always had a tendency to ban certain characters without actually thinking it through. I mean, obviously certain characters are kind of a guaranteed ban in a lot of cases, like the wet hams and such and things like that. But I kind of ended up seeing like everything as a threat for my my usual tank push type stuff. So it was kind of nice to be forced to be like, okay, I can't rely on that tank push anymore, because one, I tend to fail at it, and I needed as much killing options as possible, so I needed the free up space. But yeah, it was kind of nice having I did fall into a routine with some of my picks. Obviously Rosenseal into Luna, and then after that I either go Iron Chancellor or I just start grabbing AoEs depending on what my opponent picks. But yeah, like I said, learning how to like appropriately ban and pick is one of the key things in Apex. If you can't recognize what your win conditions are versus your opponents and their counters to your win condition, you're not good. You can't progress at that point, because you don't know what to. You have a bunch of powerful characters, but you don't know what to do with them and which ones to pick in what order. Which obviously I'm going to mess up on as I probably change up the box again. So since this battle is so short, let's consider. Like I mentioned, I'm probably going to be switching back to a more of a pure assassin type box. I'm not going to switch back to my old box, since that one was having difficulties anyway. But let's go ahead and consider what we can go ahead and drop here. Also, I like being able to use characters I don't have very many opportunities to use, like Varna and stuff. Varna does really well. I was actually, kind of surprised. So if I was to go back to single target, I would probably go ahead and... I obviously wouldn't take Lana. The chorus... I probably would end up dropping the chorus. Angelina, Cherry, Helena are okay. Varna's out. Don't need Michelle. Gustav is okay, but doesn't have enough mobility and range when she needs it to actually counter the other single targets out there. So go ahead and get rid of Gustav. And to be honest, I've been strongly considering dropping Tensei Jessica. So for right now, we'll go ahead and drop her. Tensei Jessica is great. She does have a bit of a warm-up to get her stacks up and running. I believe her exclusive will give her an additional stack, so she can go up to 5 stacks. She does have access to both AoE and single target. She does provide some passive healing, and she of course provides buffs and teleports. But I don't really need to rely on her anymore, so we're going to go ahead and leave her out for now. So, as for assassins, I do want to bring in the Valkyria Chronicles characters, so I do want to bring them in. My Isara is 6 stars. I went ahead and used my stockpile of SR shards to just get her just maxed out. Silvaria. And then we can obviously play around with all the other assassins we have available. So we could take Kayura. Don't really need any of those. We will need a second healer at the very least. Yeah, I can't do Lisa. We can definitely do Zerida. That would give us another faction buffer. Technically, we can go Pierotes. I think that's... oh, obviously, it's Tsubame. And that's kind of all the space I have. That is pretty much all my assassins. Obviously, Suzette technically could be an assassin. But yeah, I think that's my options. Obviously, I can bring in Lustriel, but I don't really want to rely on her. But obviously, I would need to drop somebody. I don't like relying on Akaya. And obviously she tends to get banned often, so I might actually just keep her just as ban bait. But I mean, I guess what would this actually turn into? You would have what, Rosenseal into Luna. At that point, I would have both Empire and Princess. So Lycoris might actually be an okay option. I do need to drop somebody for a healer of some sort. Obviously, the other option is I take TRS, but TRS doesn't really have an attack buff, and she doesn't provide a faction buff. Her 3C is amazing, but it can only be used once, and it only lasts for about 2 turns. Yeah, I think Lycoris will have to be brought back in. Angelina's not bad. Might go ahead and drop Pierotes. Biggest issue is... Alicia here. Alicia doesn't actually have very good factions. That's kind of her biggest issue. But she's extremely mobile if you can get her going. Also, Silvaria here can actually provide attack buffs as well. So that gives us a little bit more flexibility. So with that in mind, I might not go Lycoris. Like, even a dark faction buff wouldn't be bad, but I think I would rather have Sissy White at this point. So that would give me... I would have my 2 healers. I would probably favor Rosenseal over... Well, actually, in this case, I might... I guess it would depend on my opponent. If it's a very heavy AoE box, I would probably take Rosenseal, but otherwise, I would take Sissy White. Sissy White can obviously provide extra units, extra mobility, technically an act again that gives plus 30 to all stats. So yeah, I think that works. So that kind of leaves us in this situation. We have Zerda, so we do have Meteor faction buff, which covers quite a bit as well. We have Luna that can provide Princess and mobility. This might be what I want to try. We would have technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 assassins. And then some long range strikers that can do some shenanigans. Angelina can technically be sort of an assassin with her 3C, but it's a bit limited. And then we have some, obviously we have some single targets that can potentially stand out. So maybe this will be what we will try. Not sure yet. Obviously we have some time before the next weekend, but I think this is what I'll probably consider trying. It probably won't be this week though. Mainly because Alicia is still 4 stars. I want Alicia to at least be 5 stars before I try anything. But with that in mind, I'll go ahead and hit save for now, just so I can look back at it. Anyway, sorry for rambling, but I wanted to go ahead and, since this battle was so short, I went ahead and use this as an opportunity to go ahead and theory craft a single target assassin box and see how it goes. Obviously, if I had Lisa better start up, she would actually be someone I can consider because she could be a healer and an assassin. Farrakha is unfortunately, well, she has Faceless now, so she's not as horrible, but she's still not great. And then Pyrotes. Pyrotes would not be bad, but getting her in would be... I just don't have the space. If I were to bring in Pyrotes, it would probably be I would have to replace someone like Akaya or replace Alicia. But like I said, I want to try out Alicia. Asara, unfortunately, is not very good for a single target box, besides the fact that she can potentially AoE debuff, remove guard type situation, which, depending on your opponent, will have either have Rosen Seal or Liana, in which case she ends up being pretty negated. In an AoE box, she could probably do some interesting things as well. Anyway, enough of that. I am D Depressed Dior. This was Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 10. I'll see you guys later.